Hello, everyone. My name is Nick Infernus, and welcome back to another comic book review. Continuing on the DC train from last time, let's take a look at the next movie in the DCEU. Now, as you can see here, I am going off the Ultimate Edition. So, for those of you who saw the theatrical cut and are hoping to see me tear this movie a new one, I hate to break it to you, but that's not happening. I haven't seen the theatrical cut. You can't really find that anywhere. All you can find is this version, so this is the version I'm going off of, and if I'm being pretty honest, this version is fine. It's pretty good. Has its issues, but I enjoyed parts of it. So what were those parts that I did enjoy? Well, I do like the general idea that they bring up about Superman, the question of is he doing more good? The question that I don't think we really see get explored a lot in superhero movies. Even when they do bring it up, it's usually just in passing. Like they did it at the end of the Avengers, but it was just a few interviews here and there. They do that in the Amazing Spider-Man 2. They kind of touched on it in Captain America: Civil War, but then again, but once they bring it up, they kind of just shove it off to the side and start focusing on the Sokovia Accords. I don't really count that against the movie at all because the movie is really more about the political dispute between two friends. So I don't really mind that they don't focus on this movie. But here, that idea is a prominent feature and it makes the story a lot more interesting, especially with this version of Batman, who, of course, given that it's Batman v Superman, you got to give one side a reason to dislike the other. And they do that by having this be a direct sequel to Man of Steel, where during Superman's fight with General Zod, Bruce loses a lot of people who he was really good friends with from his business, so that basically puts the vengeance in our Batman, the man who always says "I'm vengeance," or at least said it in the Batman. I haven't seen a lot of DC stuff, so like if he calls himself Vengeance in any other continuity, let me know. But speaking of Batman, I also really like this version of Batman. He's more brutal and he brands criminals as a fear tactic. It's like you see people who have the Bat brand, and he'll be in here, he's gonna kill me. So like I like that idea that he's a lot more brutal and violent and a lot more threatening and deadly. And the titular fight of Batman v Superman, admittedly, I think it's a little bit mixed. On the one hand, it takes nearly 2 hours to get to the final fight, or to get to the actual Batman v Superman fight, which for a movie called Batman v Superman, you'd obviously want to experience that fight sooner. They don't fight. But at the same time, you kind of have to build up to that with whatever Batman's going to use to take Superman down, whether that be that big armored suit or the kryptonite. So like I can kind of excuse that a little bit. And I'm glad that they do eventually find a way to find common ground. And even the fight with Doomsday, where it's essentially just Batman and Wonder Woman holding off while Superman comes up with a plan, eventually leading to the what was the word I'm thinking of? Yeah, Superman's sacrifice, and then the whole country comes together to celebrate his life, essentially, which is eventually undone in Justice League, but we'll get there when we get there. So, in general, I love the story that this movie is telling. It brings up a lot of good ideas. It finds ways to justify, this dispute going on between two of DC's most popular heroes, and in general, so much just work. There are some issues though. Even though I do like how the final battle is kind of Batman and Wonder Woman holding off Doomsday, Wonder Woman herself feels like a bit of a last minute addition. Like not Diana Prince. Like the scene that she has with Bruce Wayne at that ball, I don't mind that. It's nice teasing Gal Gadot in this universe. But I feel like when Bruce's or I don't remember if it was Bruce or Lois, but when they start investigating, oh no, it was Bruce. I'm sorry. When they start investigating the metahumans, I feel like I'm starting to think that's the part that was cut out of the movie in the theatrical cut, because that just feels like a last minute addition to set up Justice League. It's like, I don't mind that we get to see Wonder Woman in this movie. I just wish they had given her more of a purpose than just kind of being there. That is definitely not my biggest issue with the movie, though. My biggest issue, I'll give it to Jesse Eisenberg. He did a great job, but his character should not have been called Lex Luthor. If he was the Riddler, then we're in business. And it's like, you could probably argue that this is also like a younger version of Lex Luthor, and if you want to use that argument, then that's fair, but I don't know. Even as a younger version, he just feels a bit too eccentric, a bit too chipper, a bit hyper. I don't know. It just felt incredibly off, and he kind of took the itch off of scenes. Like the scene where he's threatening Superman with the death of his adoptive mother. I feel like if Lex himself was a more serious character, that could have been a much more serious moment. Now, of course, Henry Cavill's acting does help in that scene, but in general, I just think there's a lot of edge taken off when you have Jesse Eisenberg with his speech patterns and all that. I was like, again, he could have made a great Riddler. Or if they didn't have Jared Leto in the role of the Joker, he could have been a good Joker. As Lex Luthor, he feels incredibly off, and he drags the movie down quite a bit. Though not too much to where I can say it's not great. Because this was still a pretty good movie, all things considered. And honestly, I think a 3 out of 5 is a good score. This was good enough for 3 hours. Yeah, 3 hours. It is one of the longer movies in the franchise, from my knowledge, but it is 3 hours worth sitting through for the entire story. I liked it. It was very interesting and very action-packed when it got to the action. Yes, it was light on action, but it was in favor of a good story, and that's when I'm okay with the action being kind of light. Stuff like this and Iron Man is stuff I give a pass to. Stuff like Iron Man 2 isn't really stuff that I'm willing to pass over. But yeah, I thought it was good, and so far the DCEU is still pretty strong, but as that fades away pretty quickly. But anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this review. If you did, you know what to do. I'm not going to bore you with all that generic stuff. Take care. Godspeed.